الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا إنه من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح الأمة وكشف الغمة وتركنا على المحجة البيضاء اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا وحبيبنا وقدوتنا محمد بن عبد الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله ولتنظر نفس ما قدمت لغد واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Gracious, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no deity worthy of worship, bowing and prostration and adoration except Allah, the Creator and Sustainer of the heavens and the earth, and I bear witness that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is his final messenger. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, we're able to live through this blessed month of Ramadan. It's a gift of Allah Azza wa Jal, and we emerged out of it feeling different, feeling a greater sense of presence of Allah Azza wa Jal. Everyone has their unique experience. You feel it in your heart, beyond what words can state through the tongue, or what you could read on a page of, or a book. What you sense in your heart is unique to you, and it's something that you sense deeply. And one of the experiences that we feel after the month of Ramadan is this kind of feeling of decline. Perhaps life shows up again for many of us already, and it's presenting its distractions, and we begin to feel scattered again, feel spread out amongst the various demands of life. And once again, we start to feel it in our hearts, that decline, that sinking feeling, perhaps faith weakening again, and we become overwhelmed, and we start to just reminisce and feel we've missed out on everything. And one of the most powerful things that we have to think about in this phase right after the month of Ramadan is that it is normal, absolutely normal, to even oscillate between these different feelings. But that ultimately, these problems that we're experiencing were the same problems and challenges that the companions of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ have felt. And I was trying to think to myself, what is it that made me feel well in the month of Ramadan? And what is it that I need right now? And I had nothing to cling on to but the words of the beloved Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. I thought to myself that indeed, all the things that we've done in the month of Ramadan were revolving around one central thought. That's it. It's not necessarily the rituals. It's what the rituals produced. And what did the rituals produce? The fasting, the tarawih, the qiyams, so on and so forth. What have they produced? What were they revolving around? They were revolving around nothing but the name of Allah. And I asked myself, is it that I was missing out in my life? To really think abundantly about the name of Allah Azza wa Jalla, and really be conscious of it, and really be present with it. It turned out to be the case. It turned out to be that most central thought that we desperately need in our lives, and Allah brought us back to it. Made it abundantly clear that we felt it in our hearts. A man came to the Prophet ﷺ and he himself was complaining about being overwhelmed. And he said, "O Prophet of Allah, inna shara'i al-Islam qad kathurat alayk." The rituals of Islam have become overwhelming for me. What should I do? Show me something, he said, atashabbatu bih. One thing I can really cling on to that would really resuscitate my heart, that will bring me back to life, that will make me experience that nearness to Allah, faith, that will allow me to actually recover from all the losses. And here we are, we're going through it right now, the anxiety and the pain of being far from being near Allah Azza wa Jalla, or up close, because life is showing up again. How do I recover? It's too much, too overwhelming. And the Prophet ﷺ said, hang on to one thing, dhikrullah, the remembrance of Allah. The simplest of things that we might have taken for granted in our lives. What is the remembrance of Allah? For the tongue to start getting activated with the mention of Allah's name over and over and over. It's called remembrance in Islam. Remembrance. To remember. Minds forget. You know, one of the things that contemporary scholars in psychology and the various disciplines that ultimately study how the human being can be optimized and succeed, they're now pointing out in research that the most fundamental trait to cultivate within children for them to be successful in life is paying attention. Learning how to pay attention. And we know very well that in our day and age, because of the multitude of distractions, we're not able to pay attention. Try to sit a kid down. Try to sit a human being down and have a conversation with them for 5 minutes, and you'll instantly see us being distracted with the gadgets that we have. Isn't it true? We can't even sit on a table and have a healthy, good meal, wholesome meal with our families because we're not even present. And imagine when you're talking to a human being and their minds are scattered. We have so much information being dumped on us, we don't even know what to study anymore, what to focus on anymore. So they're now saying in research, the most fundamental, most important thing to cultivate within young minds is the ability to just pay attention and be present. It's very hard. That now we have medications that will allow people to gather their thoughts around something because we're scattered. You know what the month of Ramadan did? Collect our thoughts around one thing, because nowadays they're saying you gotta focus, you gotta focus, you gotta focus. The question is, focus on what? Then human beings endeavor to define for us what to focus on out of their own intellects, out of what they surmise to be the best. And everybody has different theories on what to focus on. We're scattered amongst even what to focus on. And Allah Azza wa Jalla and Prophet Muhammad said, there's one fundamental thing, the fundamental core teaching of our faith that will settle you, that will raise your faith, that will bring you nearer to Allah, that will optimize you, is the mention of Allah's name. One thing, no other. That's it. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. And everything that revolves around Allah Azza wa Jalla. That man that came to the Prophet was concerned. And by the way, the hadith, according to the scholars, does not mean you leave salah and you leave fasting, you leave hajj, because the Prophet said, hang on to the remembrance of Allah. Well, the modes of worship themselves are about the remembrance of Allah. But what the man was asking is how do I recover when I've lost things? How do I regain the gains that I have gained before? How do I stay close to Allah? How do I elevate myself instantly? And the Prophet ﷺ pointed to his tongue, this tongue of yours. Oftentimes we think of the tongue, and Allah speaks of the tongue in the Quran as a ni'mah, gift of Allah. We talked a lot about it in the month of Ramadan. Look at this tongue that we've taken for granted. Allah says in Surah Al-Rahman, "Allamahu al-bayan." He taught him articulation. This powerful instrument that we carry, between our cheeks. We know the impact of it. It runs wildly, also without focus and thought. Isn't it true? And oftentimes we say that the words that come out of our tongues are like a ladle that scoops out of the heart. Meaning that whatever is in my heart, I'm going to say. Right? If there is obscenity and dirt in the heart, foul language comes out. And it's also a product of the thoughts. If good things are in the heart, love, affection, mercy, instantly you see the words coming out, scooping out of that mercy, and they become gentle. So it's a reflection of whatever is inside. But is the reverse true? Allah Azza wa Jalla says beautifully in the Quran, "Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, taqullaha wa qulu qawlan sadida." To show you how little attention we pay to what we hear. Oftentimes we hear this mentioned even in khutbah. The call for us to be conscious of Allah. It's all about consciousness. What are your thoughts revolving around? We might say things that we're not even aware of. So Allah says in the Quran, a command to the believers, all you who believe, be conscious of Allah. Be conscious of Allah means think about Him. وَقُولُوا, and the following command is قُولُوا قَوْلًا سَدِيدًا. This is really powerful. He says, pay attention to what you're saying. Say words that hit their goal. Say words that hit their mark. Good, righteous words. What happens? So, okay, I don't have that good feeling in my heart. Perhaps my heart is full of junk. So I'm now being asked to say good words despite what's in my heart. Oftentimes we wait for our hearts to feel good to start acting good. How about the reverse? Could actions and words impact your heart? Absolutely, and it's what Allah is saying. He's saying, say good words, يُصْلِحْ لَكُمْ أَعْمَالَكُمْ. The words that you say, even if you don't believe in them, start saying them over and over and over. They'll start to reform your heart and reform your deeds and change even your nature. Wow. Words, bayan, articulation, impacts my heart and my mind and my feelings? Absolutely. Try it and you'll sense it and you'll feel it. That's why there's so much emphasis on rituals and mantras. Because people are desperate and they're broken nowadays. They're trying to cling on to something that calms their hearts down because of the stress. And now we have experts and practitioners of meditation from all walks of life coming to teach us about meditation. And about doing what's called mantras. Sit down and say, here's what they tell you, say good words. Then you say, what words? You say, just pick good words. Whatever is good for you. Hope, rain, right? Whatever good word that you want to think about that makes you feel good, sit down and say it for 15 minutes. Say it for 29 minutes, as some of the research says. Some say 13 minutes. But just keep saying it over. But you say, I'm not feeling hope. I'm not feeling joy. They say, keep saying it over and over and over. That's what research is telling us. What happens eventually? They say it starts to activate your heart and calm your heart down and calm your thoughts down if you're able to pay attention to what you're saying. This is what contemporary studies are telling us, yes? And there are people making tons of money out of teaching people this stuff. The Prophet ﷺ is telling this man, just mention Allah's name as much as you can. It'll calm you down. It'll propel you to Allah Azza wa Jal. The Prophet ﷺ speaking of this powerful tongue of ours and how it can heal us and restore us back to Allah through the mention of His name. Look at how simple it is, and look at how far it is from us. The Prophet ﷺ says, أَفَلَا أَدُلُّكُمْ عَلَى خَيْرِ أَعْمَالِكُمْ. Can I not show you, would I not show you the best of your deeds? If you were to think of all the deeds you can do in this short life that really elevate you, that make you a star, that will earn you the love of Allah, that will transform you into a noble human being, what would that be? What would I focus on? The Prophet ﷺ says, أَلَا أَدُلُّكُمْ, would I not tell you about the best? And then he says, وَأَرْفَعُهَا لِدَرَجَاتِكُمْ, the one that will elevate you the most with Allah. The most. And then he says, It is better for you. خير لكم من أن تعطوا الذهب والورق. It's better for you than to give gold and silver. Better than provision, all provision that you can amass and give in the way of Allah. Better than all of this. He asked him, "O Prophet Allah, what is it?" He said, "Dhikrullah, the remembrance of Allah." But how to remember Allah in my mind? He said, start moving your tongue with it. It'll start to impact your mind and your thoughts. And now, as I said, we have research telling us, proving this, as if we needed this research. What about the words of Allah Himself, who created you and me and knows what we need? Right now, we're feeling this pain because the heart needs Allah. And Allah says, I'm here. What you've sensed in Ramadan is the presence of Allah in your life. Because you're mentioning Him a lot. You're thinking of Him a lot. So He comes to life for all of us. He's already there, but we're not connected to Him because we're aware of Him. We're aware of Allah, we're instantly connected. And it happens in an instant, a thought. A thought can bring you back to Allah. How do I go there? With the remembrance of Allah through the tongue. It is Allah Azza wa Jal who tells us in a beautiful hadith Qudsi, أَنَا جَلِيسُ مَنْ ذَكَرَنِي, I am the companion who sits with the one who mentions me. Can you imagine Allah asking you and me, I want to sit with you? It means I'm present with you. He's already there, but I'll make you aware of my presence. When you have someone behind you that you know is powerful, you feel calm. You're not on your own anymore. The reason we feel afraid in this life is because we start to depend on ourselves and feel that we're the ones who are in control. But Allah's telling us you're not. Sure, I've given you faculty and will, but ultimately it's Allah who moves us, who steers us, who's behind every action and movement in the heavens and the earth. In the heavens and the earth. You know, in one of the latest discoveries this century, again, we needed scientists to show us this. The father of quantum physics, the author, the one who initiated the study of quantum physics, which is the study of the tiniest things in existence, the particles and the atoms and what's beneath them. Max Planck. What did he say? One of his most extraordinary statements. He said, behind every vibration, within every cell and every atom, because they're moving. Electrons are moving, protons are moving, molecules are moving. There's a vibration. Now there's infinite amount of operations within us vibrating to allow us to breathe and move and see. Otherwise we'd be dead. How is it happening? What's moving it? What's moving that top? What's generating the energy when you run? Max Planck said, behind every vibration of every subparticles, the ones you didn't even see, is energy that is external to it. And this energy could not have come from this existence. Max Planck is telling us this. We needed him to tell us this. He saw it. Through his own analysis and experimentation, he's saying it's impossible for this energy to be coming from within. It is external because they've studied this and they've proved it. And he was really pointing out, without saying the word God, to the transcendent source. What else do we need to really understand that our souls came from Allah and they're only settled with the mention of Allah's name? We calm down because we feel His hand behind us. He's with us through thick and thin. Every single thought around this world and its limitations and our abilities bring us down, make us anxious and distressed. Whenever we collect our thoughts on Allah, the perfect one, the source, your source and my source, we calm down. We calm down in powerful ways. Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis, again, one of his genius statements, right? We're waiting for these genius statements to come out to just point us out to truth. He said the human being craves the sense of oneness by returning back or wanting to return back to his mama's womb. So he says, you and I are craving that sense of oneness again with the mother and wish to go back to her womb. So there's a yearning inside. He's seeing it, but he's calling it mother. How about taking it a step further to the ultimate source of the mother and the womb? And the entire experience of the womb is about connection. Do you notice? We're born, before being born, we're initiated into existence through an experience of connection to remind us you're not on your own. Even the umbilical cord was supporting you, fueling you, and you're eating and you're consuming. Maybe the baby doesn't think about it. Actually doesn't think about it. It's just consuming. Allah put us in that chamber so that we emerge out of life and try to remember where we're connected to a source. Sigmund Freud is telling us you want that oneness. You desire that oneness. You want to go back home. But our home is not just the womb. Allah Azza wa Jalla, who says, I breathe into you from my spirit. Your spirit will never calm down, but it's not far. You mention Allah and you're present with Him. Allah instantly generates that connection for you. You're present in the court of Allah and you calm down because you see Allah in control. You see His presence and you see everything reminding you of Him. Allah Azza wa Jalla says in the Quran, أَلَا بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ تَطْمَئِنُّ الْقُلُوبِ. He knows, He created us and He knows our hearts are turbulent. Qalb in Arabic means that thing which keeps turning. When you settle down, it takes just a minute for you to become anxious again. We all go through it. We woke up, the day after Eid, we're already anxious and distracted. And we're reminiscing over Ramadan in pain. Allah says, don't worry, Allah is not departed. Mention His name, mention His name, mention His name. Over and over, as much as you try to remember life, and it should be more. And Allah says, I'll calm your hearts down. So somehow the mention of Allah calms our hearts down. The Prophet ﷺ and Allah Himself spoke so much of the impact of the remembrance of Allah Azza wa Jalla on us. It is He who said in Surah Al-Rahman, Tabarak ismu rabbika, Dhul Jalali wal Ikram. He said His name is powerful because it's the source. It's not like saying, Tom or Jennifer or table or pen. It's the name of Allah who initiated all of existence. So He says in this beautiful verse, Tabarak ismu rabbik, His name brings barakah. It is barakah. What is barakah in Arabic? It means something that settles and grows abundantly beyond human calculations in an abnormal way. It continues to grow and grow and grow beyond what arithmetic can tell you. It's not normal. Abnormal stability and growth. That's barakah. So when Allah introduces barakah in our lives, into our time, into our energy, into our thoughts, we won. We're going to triumph with everything that we do in our lives. All we need is barakah. Otherwise, you and I are on our own. And we can't do much because we're limited. Allah says, my name will bring abundance into your life, for sure. You want barakah, blessings in your time to do more, to feel better, to feel barakah, overflowing goodness and healing in your heart, in your thoughts, to think more efficiently about good things and make them focus. You want more energy literally in your movement in life. Allah Azza wa Jalla says, my name brings it. It's barakah. It's the ultimate barakah. It is Allah Azza wa Jalla who promised us that whenever you mention Him, He mentions you. Can you imagine? We're desperate for being mentioned by anyone of importance in life. When you learn that someone mentioned you and they talked about you in a private conversation in a good way, you're so happy. I'm happy, right? What if you learn that someone of significance, famous person, actually talked about you, mentioned you in a tweet? Oh my goodness, you're going to take that tweet and send it to the whole world, right? Just to show that someone mentioned you. How about a picture with someone? What about those selfies with famous people? Or we live to be famous. People are dying, literally, to just get a selfie at a famous monument, or with some literally dying in the process. And we've heard of this, right, recently. So many deaths are happening. Obsession with being with someone important or something that is important. Allah says, you mention my name, I mention your name. And imagine if Allah mentions your name in the heavens. The Prophet ﷺ came across a group of companions mentioning Allah's name, doing dhikr of Allah Azza wa Jalla. And he says, what is it that sat you down? What are you doing? And they said, oh Prophet of Allah, we just sat down to remember Allah Azza wa Jalla, just to mention His name. Because they needed it. It's the thing we need the most in our lives. He was so happy. He says, Allahumma ajlasakum illa hada. Allah, this is the only thing that sat you down. So they were not sure about this reaction of the Prophet ﷺ, and they were worried that the Prophet ﷺ is questioning them. He said, oh Prophet Allah, yeah, this is the only thing that sat us down. He sensed that they were doubting kind of or skeptical about the response or not understanding it. So he instantly said, hey, calm down. I didn't say this as an accusation. I am saying this out of joy because I learned that Allah Azza wa Jalla is mentioning all of you and praising you before the angels. Instantly when I mention Allah, He mentions me in a better company to the angels in the heavens right now. And if Allah mentions you and is present with you, His mercy is going to be around you, His protection, His healing, His guidance. You're with Allah. How will the hearts not calm down? It's a thing that all of us are looking for in this world. People are paying literally thousands and thousands of dollars to calm down. And here is this thing at the heart of our faith. One of the most recent studies that I've come across just blew my mind away about this notion of declaring the oneness of Allah Azza wa Jalla in our lives, the oneness of Allah, La ilaha illallah. Because the dhikr of Allah is abundant, and there are many phrases that we've heard and learned in our lives, but what is the most significant of them? The Prophet ﷺ, I'm going to talk to you about this study shortly. The Prophet ﷺ says, خَيْرُ مَا قُلْتُ أَنَا وَالْأَنْبِيَاءُ مِنْ قَبْلِي. The best thing I've said, my tongue has said, and the messengers before me is La ilaha illallah. No God but Allah. Powerful phrase. We say it all the time. It's the first pillar in Islam. Shahada. What does it mean for us? Is it real? Are we understanding the power of these words? No God but Allah. La is negation in Islam. You're negating something when you say it. What are you negating? There is no God but Allah. This is oneness. Declaration of Allah being the one. One of what? Doing what? That He's everything. There's no other thing. That everything else is zero, literally. And we're saying this. Are we believing it? Are we believing in what we're saying? The Prophet ﷺ spoke of this phrase that he said to the companions, Jadidu imanakum. Renew your faith. Renew your faith. Right now, all of us wish to renew our faith. Isn't it true? To elevate it to the levels of Ramadan and beyond. We wish for that. We wish it for our children. So the companions were curious. He said, O Prophet of Allah, how do we do this? He says, say La ilaha illallah. Over and over and over. But maybe I'm not feeling it. Remember the rule that I shared with you? You start saying it and thinking about it and thinking of what it means, it'll impact your heart. It'll calm it down. It'll elevate your faith in powerful ways because it's the word of Allah. And Allah called it in the Quran, Ash-Shajaratu Tayyibah. The blessed tree, the good tree, planted in the ground, and its branches and fruits are going to rise to the heavens. You become that tree. With the mention of Allah in my heart right now, what does it mean? La ilaha illallah, I'm negating that anything else can be the source. I'm negating that anything is life but Allah. I'm affirming that Allah is the only source of life, is the only one that sustains, is the only one that provides, is the only one that protects. He's everything. He's the truth. There's nothing before Him. There's nothing after Him. He's present eternally. He's perfect. He's the only source of healing. He's the only one who plans perfectly. He's the only source of wisdom. He's absolutely good. La ilaha illahu. There's none other than Allah. Imagine now if I collect my thoughts around this. Would I be afraid? Would I be afraid of such and such? Allah is the source. Allah is the source of strength. No one can harm but Allah. No one can benefit but Allah. Suddenly you calm down. What about provision and fear of jobs and so on and so forth? Well, Allah is the provider. I have to just do my part. He's behind every vibration in my life. Without Him, I can't even take a breath. Suddenly you start to also calm down. With Allah, we overcome our grief. The name of Allah calms the heart down and makes it overcome its grief and sadness. SubhanAllah, all that with La ilaha illallah, the Prophet ﷺ says, keep saying it over and over. Rise in the morning and say it. Go to bed at night and say it. It's a thing we say the most within every act of worship. Declaring the oneness of Allah Azza wa Jalla. Declaring His nobility, His exaltedness, His perfection. All for what? The thoughts to collect around Allah and to calm down. And indeed, with it, power comes, healing comes. The heart calms down. Light emerges out of the heart, out of even the face. You find yourself with no energy to do good deeds you didn't even think were possible. Suddenly life transforms, all with the mention of Allah's name. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to make us among those who declare His oneness. La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah, aqulu qawli hadha, wa astaghfirullah al-azim li wa lakum. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلق وسيدنا سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. So going back to that study that I've come across, it was published in the Daily Mail in the UK. They're talking about a bunch of researchers, again, studying the impact of spirituality and religious practices on our well-being. And there's a lot of research on this. Well, we don't have the time to dig into it now, but I'm going to point to you one interesting study. They've studied all religious groups, and they found that those who worship God and meditate on God are experience, greater level of satisfaction in life more than any other group. Then they studied all the religious groups, right? Jews, Christians, and others as well, Buddhists, Hindus. They've actually said in the studies, and this came out of research in psychology, philosophy, and other disciplines, consistent. They said of all groups, the ones that experience the greatest satisfaction according to their studies is Muslims. And they named one factor. They said the factor contributing to this sense of well-being is what is called feeling connected to the one. Feeling a sense of oneness. Now we have this unifying one that connects everything together, and some groups experience it more. And they said Muslims have the greatest sense of this, sense of oneness, because Allah for us is the one, and we say La ilaha illallah. They've looked at other, paths and religions, and they found other kind of teachings or beliefs to be the central focus. If you look at, for example, Buddhism, it's about ultimately being released from suffering, nirvana, right? If you look at Hinduism, among the most core teachings, not that it's not a core teaching for ours, but it is the core teaching. It's about truth. The central core teaching of Islam is what? It's called Tawheed, isn't it true? What is Tawheed? Oneness. Oneness, to understand that we emerge out of the one who connects everything, the unifying God. And the studies are showing right now that indeed this is the most central factor contributing to a sense of well-being and satisfaction in life. Nothing else will do it. And that Muslims have it the most because of this core teaching within their faith. Did we also need that, brothers and sisters, to remind us of the beautiful gift that Allah Azza wa Jalla has given us, that can literally alter our life, change and transform our lives within an instant? What are the conditions then to cultivate this? And indeed, all I leave you with today is La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, after the month of Ramadan, to say it over and over until it really starts to infuse itself into our hearts and into every self. They say it also now, and within various studies that look at how to optimize human performance, they say you need few things to master any discipline or any skill. They say you need repetition. Isn't it true? Repeat it over and over and over. Repeat the math equations in the problems over and over and over. Repeat the song over and over and over. The runs as an athlete over and over and over, right? Until it gets wired into your brain and becomes a habit. It flows naturally. Repetition. Number 2, presence. Presence. They actually say for you to be devoted and master anything in life, you really have to focus on it and be present with it. You cannot be scattered. You have to be focused absolutely on it. Second is focus and really paying attention to what you're doing. There's nothing else. What does Allah Azza wa Jalla say in the Quran? Qurullaha dhikran kathira. Mention me how much? A lot. Abundantly, over and over and over. Fill your life with it. If we do it, we've already received a gift from Allah Azza wa Jalla. There is no better gift. The second is khushu', pretty much. Be present. Think about what you're saying. Think about what you mean when you say La ilaha illallah. What does it mean to you right now? Instead of just verbalizing these expressions without thought or presence, power will happen. Change will happen. Transformation will happen. Healing will happen as soon as you start to pay attention to the word La ilaha illallah. The phrase La ilaha illallah. That's when things will start to happen, brothers and sisters. I'll leave you with this. This is the mention of Allah's name. There's nothing like it. There's nothing simpler. There's nothing more beautiful. There is nothing that will bring you closer to Allah than His name. So when we're thinking of all the things that we have to do right now to elevate our positions with Allah, to bring us closer to Him and His love and His adoration, there's nothing like mentioning His name. How do we do it? Set a target. Set a goal daily. Be it 100 or 200 or 300 or 500 La ilaha illallah, I have to say that. Of course, if do the other dhikrs. But wanted to just leave with one thing today that the Prophet ﷺ says was key to renewing your faith, was key to nourishing you with the energy from Allah Azza wa Jal, was key to connecting you right now and your heart to Allah Azza wa Jal, to infuse life in all of your life. in all of your worship. There is nothing like it. It's the best of what human beings have ever said. And it's the number one thing that is linked to your satisfaction, as Allah Azza wa Jalla, and I'll conclude with this beautiful verse in the Quran. He's instructing the Prophet ﷺ in Surah Taha. And he says, فَاصْبِرْ عَلَى مَا يَقُولُ. Be patient with what they say. They say obscene things. Be patient. وَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ قَبْلَ طُلُوعِ الشَّمْسِ وَقَبْلَ غُرُوبِهَا وَمِنْ آنَاءِ اللَّيْلِ فَسَبِّحْ وَأَطْرَافَ النَّهَارِ لَعَلَّكَ تَرْضَىٰ. He says, be patient, number one. Restrain yourself. Be patient. Number two, glorify Allah. When? Beginning of the morning, at night, within the depth or the midst of the night as well, and the edges of the day, meaning throughout the day. Keep mentioning Allah's name, and then this is what happens. He says, لَعَلَّكَ تَرْضَىٰ. You will gain satisfaction. Full satisfaction, inside out. Things will start to happen. Brothers and sisters, let us set a target, inshallah, commit ourselves to La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. Just keep saying it over and over and over. And you really start to feel the love of Allah Azza wa Jalla. And you'll start to feel the faith, and you'll instantly become among those chosen to mention Allah Azza wa Jalla. And there's no one like them. Right now, if you mention Allah, Allah's mentioning you. Right now, your hearts will calm down if you mention Allah Azza wa Jalla. It's the thing we're about to do in the salah even. La ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah. لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله اللهم اغفر لنا وارحمنا واعف عنا وتول أمرنا وأحسن خلاصنا واختم بالباقيات الصالحات أعمالنا اللهم اجعلنا من الذاكرين لك والذاكرات اللهم اجعلنا من الذاكرين لك والذاكرات اللهم اهدنا يا رب السماوات والأرض اهدنا إلى صراطك المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين ربنا أعنا على ذكرك وشكرك وحسن عبادتك يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب صل اللهم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وأسأل الله عز وجل to bless us and guard our hearts, to enable us and strengthen us to mention Him and worship Him. We ask Allah to make our hearts firm upon His faith and not to make them swerve. We ask Allah to join us with those who mention Him abundantly night and day, and to join us with Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allahumma ameen, Allahumma ameen, barakallahu feekum, wa aqim as-salam.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
Straighten the lines, inshallah. Heels on the line. I'm sure that's it. Turn your hearts to Allah Azza wa Jalla. Pray this salah as if it's your last time. Allahu Akbar. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يئوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو عالم الغيب والشهادة هو الرحمن الرحيم. هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر سبحان الله عما يشركون. هو الله الخالق البارئ المصور له الأسماء الحسنى يسبح له ما في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen for gathering again on this beautiful occasion, this day of Jumma after Eid. May Allah accept from all of you brothers and sisters, accept your fast and prayers. Inshallah, keep us steadfast. Keep us, inshallah, also bring us back as a community so that we can keep, inshallah, our faith and spirit, inshallah, going. Couple of announcements, inshallah. Tonight will be Brother Tariq's halaqah, resuming, inshallah. You know the time? 7:30, inshallah. So before Maghrib, inshallah. 7:30, inshallah, we'll resume. This Sunday, inshallah, we have a couple of occasions, a couple of events. We have the Eid picnic at 12 o'clock and also the Sunday school graduation, I believe at 10 o'clock, if I'm not mistaken. So the Sunday morning halaqah is canceled because of that, inshallah. So again, the Eid picnic, please, inshallah, join us. Bring your children, inshallah, and may Allah Azza bless our time together, inshallah, and fill our hearts with joy. Barakallahu feekum, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.